Hello, this is Anthony, and today I want to talk to you about something I did. So, I set up an open source SIEM called Wazuh, and essentially what this does is it monitors all of my remote instances and services for any kind of vulnerability or suspected security incident. And it does this by communicating via server client architecture with an agent that is deployed on my service. So what you essentially do is you download a program on, let's say you have an edge router or an edge web server. You would download this agent and it would connect to your SIEM, or your security information and event manager, and it would communicate and it would establish well, with this SIEM, it establishes itself as an agent. So as you can see, I have two agents connected. And just a little heads up, if you're planning to do a non-systemd agent deployment on your edge services, like let's say you're using Docker, and that might be Alpine Linux, you're going to run into some problems. So I just kind of want to show you. This is the wizard to go through to deploy your agent. So let's say you have a Red Hat or a CentOS service. What you would do is you would then go through all of these options. You'd put in the IP address of your SIEM, and you'd pop it in here, or the reverse DNS if it's a remote Wazuh dashboard. Let's say your entire network gets hacked, right? That's why you would want it remote. And you'd set the name, you'd assign it to a group, and you'd follow all of these. You'd copy this command, paste it into your remote CentOS or Red Hat service, and then you'd reload the daemon and start the agent. And theoretically, it should just connect to the Wazuh dashboard. So something I kind of want to point out with non-systemd, such as like Alpine, well, I think this category is here for a reason. It didn't quite work for me. I had enabled all of the repositories. I was running the latest version of Alpine, and it just wasn't really working. You copied and pasted this command, right? And then you go over here to the extra steps, and you know, so it's this one-liner right here has already done this. You just have to continue on from here, and what you do is you replace this with your IP address, which I've done, and you hit enter, right? And it's just storing these as variables, as export variables, so they can be accessed by the agent. And of course I would start it, and nothing would happen. And sure enough, when I looked at the logs of my Alpine server, it said that it was not able to authenticate with the Wazuh server, and the key could not be retrieved. So what I ended up doing to get around this, and I'll show you, but yeah, and there's even a notice here, but the weird thing was, the first time that I tried this script in the same sit-down session, it worked, and I didn't have to do anything other than run this and follow the rest of the steps. But you have to follow through here. I think this is probably the most reliable method for non-systemd distributions such as Alpine. And what I ended up doing is enrollment via the manager API. And basically there's two steps here. You request the key and you import the key to the agent. The program, you have to import the key that Wazuh gives you into the agent or the client. So to request the key, you know, they take you through this. You basically end up submitting a post request, and it gives you an output of a key, and you put that key into, is it? No, I don't think actually, no, you get the key here, and this is what it looks like. This is what the key looks like, and then that's the retrieval of the key. So essentially at that point you have initialized with Wazuh through the API that, hey, we're going to be creating an agent, and here is its name, and here is its authentication key, and that gets returned back to you. And then what you would do is you'd import the key to the agent, and this I believe is also a one-liner, so I mean it's not very difficult. What you do is you run the manage agents executable, and you specify the -i flag, and you pop in that key that you were given through requesting the key. And then at that point, that's how your client, you know, I say client, but I want you to understand here, you may be deploying this, yes, on a server, but the way that this works is it works as a client, and they just come up with a different name for it, which is agent, because that makes more sense. It gets confusing when you call a server a client. But yeah, so you pop your key in here, and it asks you if you want to confirm it, and you say yes, and it says added, and at that point you're done. But it's a little bit convoluted when you're going through that process. You really need to do this. I don't know why it worked for me the first time, but it did, so I don't know. And then at that point you find the path to the Wazuh control, and you restart the service if you've already started or you just started. So that is that. And Debian and Ubuntu and all of the ones up here in this row are going to be a lot easier and simpler, just because they're more straightforward and more established, I guess, as scripts. Not a lot of people utilize Alpine Linux enough for them to, I guess, have a really seamless process. But anyways, here we are later with our two endpoints, our two agents. So let's go ahead and take a look at what this dashboard offers. And to give you some more context, I am running the Wazuh server appliance, not the agent, the appliance, in a virtual, this one. I'm running this in a qemu KVM virtual machine, and the process for that, you have to download the OVA, because they give it to you as an OVA, and what you have to do is you have to extract that OVA, and you'll get 3 files. You need to convert the OVA to a VMDK file, or not the OVA, but you need to convert the VMDK file to a kcow2 image for qemu and KVM deployments. So just know that if you're using like GNOME boxes or virtmanager, or you're just using it using qemu KVM over the command line without a graphical interface, just know what you're getting yourself into. But from here, you know, you grab the IP address of the machine on your virtual network, and you head over to the dashboard, and you can log in. It's really plug and play. It's really easy. A lot of people end up deploying this on a cloud server, and I just think that's too much of an attack surface. If you can externally access it on the internet, I believe more in having it on your LAN. You know, if you're thinking about from a person-to-person perspective, if you're thinking about running a home lab, I see this as very useful. So for instance, let's go ahead and click on Alpine server, and I went ahead and did a ton of stuff. I nmap scanned my agents, I ran some vulnerable scripts, I started and stopped services, just to see what it would do, you know, just to kind of experiment. And I think the best thing that I've seen so far is this whole MITRE attack framework. I think that's been the most, and it might not actually be this one where I have stuff showing up under MITRE. It might be this one too, MITRE attack. Oh, interesting. Well, I swear I did have events. I swear I did have events. Oh, you know, it's probably in the last hour at this point. last 24 hours. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So what's interesting is it identifies and it catches. So the agent communicates with Wazuh, and it sends log files, it sends event notifications via the network connection through the API. And essentially, it gives you a time, a MITRE ID, a MITRE tactic, and a description of what actually happened. So Wazuh agent stopped. Of course, that was me. I did that. You know, that was an automatic function that happens when you deploy the Wazuh agent. You're going to see this on every node. But it did end up flagging this as a MITRE attack TTP, which is very interesting. So you can even click and get more information about what the goal was, if this was malicious, what the goal was. And you can go through here and look at some of the intelligence that Wazuh just includes in its dashboard. I mean, and let me just go ahead and explore another thing with you. So over here we have, I believe, is it under system auditing? I don't think so. I think it might be, it might just be this page, and yes, here it is. So the system, it's SCA, and basically what this does is it scans your system for compliance, but also just security in general. So we can take a look at this, and we can click this right here, and it'll give us a list of everything. It'll give us an overall score of how secure our system is. It'll say which tests it passed and which it failed. Well, let's see here. Let's click this. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah. So our Linux Mint system is pass for SHA-512 and SHA-256 and etc. shadow. So basically what it's telling us here is it passed the test for how secure our etc. shadow file is, which is, I guess, interesting. It's and ensure that SE Linux or AppArmor is installed. It also is a pass, which is kind of cool. Okay. So this is our Linux Mint workstation, and all I did was I just wanted to simulate, you know, deploying this on a user's endpoint within an organization. So I mean, you know, they could be web browsing, editing financial files, or browsing the internet when they're not supposed to be. And kind of the point, I mean, there's just a lot of extensibility here. You know, if they get into something or something gets on their system, you can do integrity monitoring, and you can detect. I wish it would have enough data at this point to show me what's going on. But you know, if I edited a sensitive file, like if I went to if I added sbin no login, I want to see if that comes up. I just have to remember how to include that. You know, actually, I probably don't need to Google this. There's probably already other examples. But let's just get this up here. I want to edit that file. We do have nano. Do we have vim? Alright, sudo vim / etc. password root. So this is what we want. We want user sbin, user no login. And we just want to see if this event gets logged. I want to see if that ends up getting logged as an event. You know, it might take a while for it to... Well, I mean, oh... So it just logs some other stuff through the MITRE ATT&CK framework. Let's go ahead and look at those events. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. So yeah, it did log a whole ton of stuff. So when we when we executed sudo for the first time, it noticed that, and it's like, something's up with that. And the login session being opened successfully. So, and then there's a successful sudo to root executed. It tells you which agent, tells you the command, used vim to edit, etc. password as the root, with root privileges, not as the root user. And it tells us which user did this. And oh my goodness, I didn't even realize it went that in depth, but it tells you the current working directory, the user was root, the command was vim to edit, etc. password. That's really cool. Can we see what was changed? I wish we could see the actual contents of what was changed. Can we see that? Yeah, so I don't know. This is just something really cool that I wanted to show you, because it's got to be in here. Maybe I got to refresh it. If we go back to dashboard here, how many counts do we have? How many counts? How many events? So you've got tons of data points. This can get overwhelming quickly. Framework. It doesn't tell us about a file change though. Doesn't tell us about a file change of any kind. I mean, I wonder if we could do a search, because, oh yes, we can. Well, okay, so it's not there. Yeah, but I mean, like, let's click one of these MITRE IDs, right? So you can set up rule sets to tell you, hey, you know, where is this coming from? You know, and if it seems out of characteristic of something legitimate, or if you have within your organization, you have a rule that IT can't change anything without, you know, permission of a manager or something of that sort, and you have this rule set to detect successful roots, then I mean, you're pretty much on your way to detecting everything that happens on the system. But this is what I found most useful. You can see everything that happened, whether it's legitimate or not. And I'm just not sure if we have the same visibility on Alpine. Well, I mean, it looks like, yeah, I mean, it hasn't been refreshed because nothing's happened. But yeah, anyways, this is what I wanted to get into and show you, and that I had set up. I just wanted to kind of take you through and show you what this was all about and how it applies in a practical environment. So thank you for watching. I appreciate your time, and I hope you've learned something new. Go ahead and deploy this if you want to experiment with a SIEM that is free and open source, but actually provides an actual decent use case. Because I can see somebody deploying this on their home network and deploying all the agents on their workstations, all their servers. I can see just people getting really into monitoring at home. Of course, this is just a demonstration setup. All of this is going away, so that's why I have no problem demonstrating this on my computers. But I just thought this was interesting, and the analytics that you can get out of this is really interesting. You can even go over here to vulnerabilities, and you can scan for vulnerabilities. What else do we have here? You can set up integrity monitoring. I guess this is where your file changes would show up. But I probably have to establish some sort of rule set to detect stuff. Well, this is interesting. I mean, I guess this is just all the files that are on your system, so you can index everything. That is very interesting. That's interesting in and of itself, and you can sort by size. Of course, these are the biggest items in here. The kernel, of course, yeah. Well, I thought this would be, and you can export into a, well, okay, you can export into a CSV, but I know somewhere in here you can generate a report into a PDF. Let's see if we can figure that out without having to Google it. Agent export format. It's just a CSV. I thought you could generate a PDF. Stats. Download a CSV. So I guess it might be just a CSV, and that's actually what's more useful anyways. All of this is very, very useful. You can get the netstat listening ports. You can get logs from here. I can see how this is very useful. Very, very useful. Let's go back to here, because this is the most interesting and active one that we've had so far. Generate a report. There we go. Okay. Go to Wazuh Management and Reporting. There we go. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, that's nice. Well, but it's not showing up as. These are not. This is okay. This isn't working, and that's interesting. Let's try downloading it and see if we can get the proper display of it working. Well, okay. I might need to edit something here in the settings, but let's try and open it. No, it's still getting fuzzed and messed up. There's probably some sort of plugin that's not here. But what can we still get out of this report? I don't know. There's probably some sort of module, or maybe I'm missing fonts or something. That would just have to take a little bit more time in just seeing what I can look at and see if I can get that fixed. But you've even got regulatory compliance. You've got the PCI for the credit cards. You've got system guidelines for federal systems. You've got European. You've got everything. You got health. You've got lots of everything. And it'll take your MITRE events, or just the events in general, and apply it to whatever framework you want to look at through here. This gives us a little bit more. This gives us a little bit more information. auth log. Yeah. I would love to be able to see the actual contents of adding spin no login though. That would be good. Let's figure that out first, and then I'll hop off for now. But this has been really interesting, this whole experience of playing with this. I mean, I imagine we'd have to come over here and go to integrity monitoring, inventory, search for a file we want, etc. password. And I'm sure you could set up a rule set for, interesting, what is the dash for? I wonder if this hash changed. 3D7E6F. No. Events. We just want today. We just want today. I'm sure I have to go through here and configure this, most likely. I mean, you can just get into your general security events. This is where we installed Vim. Unknown fields for the current index path. Okay. But yeah, go check this out for yourself. If you have any questions about how I got it and how I extracted the OVA and converted it into a qemu image, feel free to leave me a comment down below, and feel free to let me know, and I'll create a guide to walk people through the process. But yeah, thank you for taking a look, and I hope this has provided some useful information for you.